You're throwing away a 2 or 3 million, 4 million, 5 million sales pitch that's proven, and you're chucking it out the window.
For 20 years, I was rowing upstream. I had a motor on and I was rowing in it. Now I've got rid of the oars, I've got rid of the motor, and I'm flowing. I just didn't realize that the way I would think, just wasn't of the mindset of a champion.
And welcome to the MindScape Blueprint Podcast. And this is the first of our MindScape Blueprint Podcasts, where we're going to endeavor to climb into the minds of some extraordinary people and some extraordinary successful people at that. And I'm thrilled that my first guest for the very first podcast is one of the most successful real estate agents in Australia. Think about this, top 5 in over 1,000 agents internationally. And that says something in itself. He's been the number 1 agent in his local area. And I'm thrilled that today I'm joined by Charles Toomer from Ray White Touma Group. Charles, thanks for being here.
Absolute pleasure, Mark.
Going back to 20 years back.
Yes.
When did you get your first glimpse of understanding that you're an aspirational type of person, you're competitive, and this was your lane to get what you wanted in your life? Can you remember that first experience?
I think the first experience was watching the people I worked for, right? And watching their craft, the way they dressed, the way they acted, their confidence, and how much they enjoyed what they did.
But there must have been something that you observed about what these people were doing, not just their craft, but where they were going, what they were able to achieve, the money they earned. What was it that you've gone, I want that?
Multiple things, right? So obviously looking at them, obviously quite successful from a monetary point of view, earning a lot of money. The lifestyle that our career provides, it's a game and it's a lifestyle. It's not a job.
Yeah.
So for me, it was, like I say, it was the profile that they built. It was the lifestyle that they were able to adapt. And it was the success by doing those things well that attracted me to go, right, how do I play this game, but how do I play to win?
I got you. So let me just picture you 20 years ago. So you're obviously a person who likes a bit of attention.
Yes.
And just from what you've said, you're a person who likes helping other people and you're after the finer things in life. Did that pretty much sum up who you were 20 years ago?
I didn't know who I was back then, but I could look at other people and sort of get a sense of what I wanted to achieve.
Yeah.
Right. So as a 20-year-old, I don't think I was very truly understanding of who Charles was. I think, I was trying to, fit in a world where I didn't know my place, but I saw things that I was like, well, I like that. And I'd like to have that one day. Now back then it could have been from an ego or that, because as time goes on, you evolve as a person.
Develop a bit of wisdom.
You do different things. But at the same time, I also looked at what other people were doing and picked up some bad traits.
Got it.
So it's not always good when you're young. You can look at the good and the bad and you take a lot in, and over time, I think evolving is working out, well, what is serving you and what is a hindrance.
Yeah, right. A lot of young entrepreneurial type of people might be getting into business. They might be developing an online business or getting into sales.
Yeah.
Often they're drawn to that type of activity with the same aspirational goals that they have for their life. And you mentioned one thing, which I think is something that permeates in a lot of people's lives, even if they're not beginners. It's that sense of trying to develop some sort of identity as to who you are and what is your purpose in life and what is your purpose in terms of your work and adding value, trying to make sense of the whole thing. Now, when you're young, that could be a bit hard. But the challenge that I see often occur with people is they never solve that problem. And so as a result, they remain perpetually unfulfilled because they never really knew what they're aiming at, and they never had the chance to leverage inside of them their strengths to become the person that their blueprint wanted them to be. So you're saying to me that blueprint wasn't quite there when you entered the real estate industry. Would that be fair?
100%. So if you think about the gap in the market, when you get into a career or an industry, you are taught the fundamentals of that game, that business, that industry. What you're not taught is that everything that you achieve from a business sense first starts with self-mastery, the way you think, the way you feel, right? And this is never taught, never taught. So you go out and you learn your craft, but it doesn't matter how good you are at your craft if you personally haven't got your mind and your body in the right place. And that's not taught. And some people pick this up quicker than others. But I, like I said early in the days, fundamentally, I was very strong. But like when you and I started to work, well, who are you?
Yeah.
And I hadn't actually had time. I never slowed down. Think about, well, who am I? What drives me? What is my identity? Because when you know what you are and what you aren't, you can then be of more confidence and of more service.
Yeah.
But I think as a younger person in whatever career they are, there is something there that's not really taught about the mind and the body, because everything else is a byproduct of how you are.
And when you talk about self-mastery, you're not talking about, being some sort of Tibetan monk and not being able and being able to cope with not speaking to another human being for 5 years. You're not talking about that. You're talking about the ability to understand oneself, like a mechanic would understand how a car engine works. You're talking about understanding how you work. And so what you're saying is that really wasn't prevalent in the early parts of your career. Nevertheless, you obviously went forward, achieving some significant successes along the way. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, because fundamentally, I was strong at the basics. So market knowledge was the number one thing, market and product knowledge, and then working buyers. Because as a young agent, how many sellers are going to come to you? Why would someone use me at the age of 21 rather than someone that was established?
Yep.
But buyers were, I suppose, the forgotten part of real estate. And I could go to a senior agent and say, you sold 5 houses, last month. You mind if I just call all the buyers that went to the open?
Yeah, right.
And then you'd call those buyers and say, I had you down looking to buy. Have you found anything? They'd say no. I say, would you like some help?
Okay, so you were always willing to go that step forward, communicate with people, take to them all that you'd taken in terms of your market research, knowing your area. And so you were able to communicate at a level that somewhat pitched you as, wow, this guy's pretty sharp. He knows his stuff for a young dude. Is that what was happening to you?
That was happening, but think about this, right? So when you, as a buyer, I would be telling buyers about other agents' listings, but I would not get a commission.
Got it.
I'd get nothing for it. And they'd say, Charles, why are you telling me about another agent's listings? I said, for me, it's about getting you the right property, not just trying to sell you what I've got.
So it was about this genuine desire in you to give.
The more you give, the more you'll get back. So if I looked at it and go, right, if I serviced you as a buyer, I knew if you bought off another agent, when you went to sell in 5 years' time, guess who you're calling? Me.
Got it.
And guess what? You weren't calling in another agent,
which
means that I was uncontested.
I understand.
In the listing.
Yeah, right.
So that's why, and so that's how I started.
Did you suffer ever from what's loosely termed as imposter syndrome? In other words, did you ever find yourself in selling situations where your mind's going, what the F are you doing in this situation? You're too young, you're talking about numbers with too many zeros on it. Did you ever confront those sorts of things?
Yeah, like all the time from 20 to 40. Look, my game, you could experience the heights of exhilaration to the depths of depression within a week.
Mm-hmm.
You could do, I remember I'd have 1 week, I'd sell 5 auctions, the next I could pass in 3.
Got it.
So it was an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
Right. But you got to learn to work from center.
Yeah.
Right.
I understand.
You can't let your wins get to your head. Can't where you get losses go to your heart. But that also takes a lot of time to learn that.
Yeah.
There were times in the early days where it was mentally challenging, and that's where a lot of people don't realize it's a mind game. Mastering your mind is where it all happens. But once again, I don't think a lot of people in their early career actually understand that and are okay when things are tough.
Yeah.
Because those tough times made me better.
Got it. So I imagine as an emotional person, you've got, good energy going on. There would have been times where it became dark for you. And I think, often people jump onto podcasts and they listen to successful people speak and they aspire to become like that successful people, and often, berate themselves thinking, I'll never be as good as this person, because I think what this medium fails to acknowledge is that we're all humans and we do encounter challenges, some that are quite significant along the way. And no doubt that was the case for you as you're going through those 20 years of development to get to where you got to. Can you remember one specific time where you were absolutely flattened and that all that energy you had just felt like maybe it's just not enough to get up?
Yeah, I don't think it was one moment. I think it would have been, I was at the top of my game very early in the career. So a lot of success came pretty quickly. But then you can start behaving and acting like number one or whatever, where the mentality should have been to stay number one, behave like you're coming last.
Got it.
Right? So when you behave like so mentality was, I thought I was already, doing really well. So then the hard work stops. You start probably not eating as well. You don't train as well. You start having a good time. And I remember that people with less talent just started to overtake me. And I was what happened here? And what had happened was all the basics, the fundamentals, I'd stop that because I thought I would, oh, that's it. Once you're there,
shit, I'm away.
And that's where the behaviors and the mind outside, because you can start having too much of a good time.
Yeah.
And then that starts to affect your mind, your discipline, your work ethic, and they are crucial.
And did you find yourself at a spot that was hard to get out of?
It was because I was doing so well young, and then there was people that started to overtake me, and I was going, but I know I'm more talent. I know there's something better, but what have I done wrong? And because of the disciplines and the work ethic from me, then my mind self-doubt crept in.
Got it.
Right? Hang on. They're there now, and I'm here now. Maybe I'm not as good.
And you're thinking, what does that say about me?
What? Yeah, I should have been leaps and bounds ahead of these people, and I couldn't figure it out. And it's taken me forever to figure it out. And only probably very in the last 6 months I've figured it out as to why. I was paddling upstream. I know I got the skills, but why aren't I doing as well?
Yes, as you should be.
As you should be.
Got it.
Mind.
Got it.
Thought.
Yeah.
Mindset. Belief. And this was the thing that I just didn't realize, that the way I would think, just wasn't of the mindset of a champion. There was too much complaining, criticizing, self-doubt, looking in the rear vision mirror.
Which are common things for a lot of people.
Yes, but I didn't know everything achieved in this world starts with a thought. Nothing can be achieved that's not started with a good intention.
Everything's intentional.
Everything starts with an intention where, focus goes, energy flows. So I didn't realize that as hard as I would work, I was going upstream because the mind wasn't with me. And I wasn't happy where I was. So there was a level of frustration. I wanted to be there, but I'm here. So now I've realized that everything you got to and we'll get into this about the work that you did with me, is about firstly, like how the mind is, your belief systems, understanding who you are, and putting yourself in a position to receive more.
Okay, so before we go there, so for those watching, let me talk a little bit about how you and I met. I was a guest on a particular podcast, I think, that you watched. So what was it that you saw that caught your attention that prompted you to reach out to me and at least introduce yourself as you did?
I listened to you on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I'd been doing real estate for 20 years, and I was getting stale in the way I was conducting business. I was overworked. I was working harder. Obviously, probably missing listing opportunities, but not being fulfilled.
But you're doing really well, though. You were number one in your area, number 5 out of 1,000 internationally, but you still felt like this.
Yeah, but I'd walk out of appointments and it just didn't feel fulfilling.
Yeah.
And I wanted to learn the art of emotional intelligence, but I had no real idea about what that looked like or where to learn that, because a lot of real estate coaches are about, just once again, the listings and the selling, the fundamentals and the basics. So anyway, I reached out and I got curious.
Got it. So up until this time, would it be fair to say that all the money that you'd made had centered around a particular listing presentation that you did with clients? I imagine that's just the traditional listing presentation. You bring on, your data, your pie charts or whatever it is.
Pie charts, spreadsheets, brochures. You go in with a suitcase full of rubbish because everyone would bring it, and everyone would manipulate the pie charts or the spreadsheets to, show where their strengths were. And I was over that.
Got it.
I was over it. I was so done with sitting there and saying, well, I've sold this many, and then it was just, we were going around in circles, and I'd walk out and I'd go, this is getting boring.
Right. So you're driving your car, presumably, you're listening to this podcast, and I'm talking a lot because this is what I do. I speak about and engage and coach, high-performing salespeople on this subject of emotional intelligence. So you're driving along in your car and you're hearing something and you're curious. So you send me an email.
Yeah, never forget this.
Right. And can I tell you something which I haven't told you before, and I'm going to tell you now. So I received your email at a point in time where I was so busy, right? I thought, and I remember saying to my wife, I said, I need another client like I need a hole in the head right at the moment. I was struggling to get across all the commitments I had. And I got your email, and there was an innocence about it that I read into it that caught my attention, right? There wasn't an arrogance. There was an innocence, which I think is a tremendous quality that you have. You said this word curiosity. And I think a lot of people approach lots of subjects with judgment and not curiosity. And as a result, they miss out on a lot of opportunities. But you wrote in a way that was curious, and I saw it. I think I picked it up on my phone. I remember it might have been a weekend or something like that. And I ignored it initially. I just thought, fuck, I don't need another client at the moment. And then I came back to it and I read it again. And I thought, I need to be polite to this person, but looking forward and doing some planning in my career, I wanted to work with the best of the best. I was on the lookout for people who are really good at what they do, who have an aspiration to become the best, not just for themselves, but to be the best in their space. And I was able to read that into your initial email, obviously doing some stalking online, working out who you are.
So you replied back, and I think it took us nearly a week or two to get to a point where we could actually work together. So you spent probably 3 or 4 phone calls. You asked, and what you did was ask me so much about me, what I was thinking, why, through this massive qualification process about who I was, what I wanted to achieve. And then you pushed back on me. You actually said, I'm not sure if I can help you. And I was like, what? And you said, I want to help. I want to work with people that want to be number one. And at the time, there probably was a desire to, and when I say number one, I talk about being my number one.
Yeah.
That could be number one in Australia, could be number one in Ray White, but I want to be my number one. And whatever that looks like, that is. So I want to be the best I can. But you sent some self-doubt. You actually asked me to write an email as to what it would mean to me to be number one. What would it mean? Why do I want it? I never actually sat down, and I think at 3 a.m, I wrote an email to you, and it got me thinking about why I wanted it, what was important about it. But we got to a point where I was like, I hope he takes me on as a client. And I was like, how does this work where I've reached out to a coach and then it all flipped, and I said to my wife, I hope he picks me. And you are by far the most expensive coach that I've come across. and my wife's like, but he charges this and you're hoping he picks you. But I suppose the whole point of it was, by the end of it, you've invested so much time getting to know me, challenging me, working out really what was underneath or what my internal desires were and bringing them to surface. By the end, I was like, I hope we can work together, and ultimately we did.
Mm-hmm.
But it was certainly a journey to get from. It wasn't just like, yep, let's go, let's work together. You really did take a lot of time before engaging together about, am I the right fit for you?
And what I wanted to try to do here is to understand who you are, to determine also whether or not you had the resilience to cope with the pushback. Because a lot of people in the sales business just take on anyone that's got a big red sticker on their forehead saying, I'm a buyer, or I want this, and we end up finding ourselves working with clients that we don't particularly want to work with. And often part of my coaching is, no, you can sit down and choose who you want to work with. So I want to see in you as to whether you really meant what you said about what you wanted to achieve. And so we figured something out. Now, I wonder if you could take us to our first engagement session, right? What were you expecting and what happened?
So I was expecting to dive straight in to skill set and, what you can offer me in terms of how to get more listings or make more money. And it was the complete opposite. Like, we walked in and the first one was like, Charles, do you know who you are? What do you mean, do I know who I am? Who are you? And I actually struggled to answer it. I don't think I've ever been asked, who am I? And we spent a lot of time getting to know who I was, what my beliefs were, what my past, looks like, where my mind and my mindset was currently at. and you very quickly identify some doubt. You very quickly identified some doubt in my mind. And the first thing we had to shift was my belief system and really get clarity about what I want and, build that self-confidence up again in my mind. And that was the first thing that we did.
I remember saying to you, if you can't believe you're the best, how do you expect anyone else to believe that you're the best?
I found it hard. Yeah, I definitely did because there was doubt. And it was hard for me to say, I want to be number one, right? But now I say I want to be number one, but like that may happen, that may not happen. But when I go into a piece of business or when I think someone wants to use me, in my mind now, I'm like, without doubt, I'm the right person. Because I know my skill set now. I've refined them. I'm all about them and understanding them rather than about me. And rather than me talking about me the whole time, I'm curious to know more about them. And then ultimately, we're getting more success at the end. But just going back again, like when I say the number one, I want to be the best I can be. Mm-hmm. And if that is number one in the country or in my office or whatever looks like. But for me, I've now got a very clear understanding about what I want, and that doubt has gone.
We're going to talk about your progress in a moment and what's happening for you today. But if I could just future pace for a moment, do you feel like number one now? You're number one.
I feel right now that I'm the best I've been. And so in my mind, I feel, yes, internally, like I'm number one in my head.
So that's quite a profound progression, isn't it, from when you first reached
Well, the mind doesn't can't reality and obviously what's happening in my mind. So in my mind now, I'll go, I'm number one. I'm number one. I'm without a doubt, I'm the right person for this job. Now, in the physical world, that may be right or may be wrong, but in my internal dialogue with myself has shifted.
Which is all that matters at the end of the day.
And this is 100%. So everything in my mind is like, I am enough. I have enough. I've done enough. But I'm ready for more when that comes. That sense of confidence allows me to walk into a room and express my recommendations and advice on a level of confidence that people have now got, wow.
So in the 3 months or so that we've worked together, what noticeable difference have you seen in yourself and the outcomes of the listing presentations that you've done where you've seen this incremental growth in outcomes as a result of this shift in thinking, which I want to dive into in a minute, but what have you seen?
So I've noticed that more engagement, more fulfilling conversations, obviously better results. But the big one was like I said, I used to walk in with a portfolio of paper and we just sit there and go through pie charts and graphs and brochures. And, now going into the appointment, I'm like, how much can I know? Like how well can I get to know this person? But if I get it, I get it. And you know what? If I don't, it's also okay. And being okay with that, for some reason, I'm detaching myself a little bit from the outcome, which attracts the client.
Yeah. Interestingly, we went on a listing appointment together.
Yeah.
Do you remember? You said to me, all right, Mark, what do I need to take into this appointment? Should I take this? And I've gone, take nothing. Like, take nothing. And there'd be a number of real estate agents listening to this going, how the heck do you walk into an appointment with nothing? How'd you find that experience?
At first, really hard. Really
so you're throwing
hard.
away a really, I don't know exactly what you earn in GCI, but you're throwing away a 2 or 3 million, 4 million, 5 million sales pitch that's proven, and you're chucking it out the window.
Found it hard, but it was the listing presentation had to evolve, and the questions that I was able to create and ask just created a level of engagement beyond looking at a sale. The reality is most people have done research. You would not be in their living room if they did not think you could sell the home.
Sure.
Why would you be there?
That's right.
Right? But what we're there to do is find out exactly what they want, what they need to give them a level of comfort. What do they need to see to validate a decision to sell their most desired asset? What are some of the experiences that they've had in the past, and what would they like to change?
So what you're saying is you're connecting with them at an entirely different level, almost at a non-verbal level, even though you're asking questions, but you're connecting in the heart with these people.
Well, think about why talk to someone about in real estate language that's not a real estate agent.
Mm-hmm.
So we've sold this and that and this and that. They're not in the game. They don't like.
So you're saying they don't have context?
They don't have context. For them, it's very simple. Go and find me the buyer that absolutely loves my house.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we can simplify, but the best advice you gave me was, yes, Charles, you are an expert in real estate. And yes, I am. But they're an expert in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And
I remember that conversation.
Yeah, and the more that you ask them about them and know about them and you build a more rapport, emotional connection, real estate stuff just flows off the back of that a little bit more.
I know we've been doing a lot of work around, we've choreographed a whole brand new listing presentation where we connect with people and their hearts. And you've certainly told me some stories about situations where you've gone in to do a listing where one particular story where they're a husband and wife, and the wife's selling the mother's home. I think it
mum's
was.
just gone into a home.
Yeah. So it's a very emotional period of time for them. And you've gone in there, and it would be a typical scenario where, from what you've told me, this person's emotionally charged anyway, given the situation, a lot of house memories in this home, and they typically wouldn't want, or a real estate agent may not be the most popular person at the party, so to speak, in that scenario. But you took in this approach. What changed as a result? Tell me about the dynamic.
It was a little bit about, speaking to the daughter and say, so I believe this is mum and dad's house. He said, do you mind if, what year did they buy it? Right.
Getting really deep.
Yeah. And I was like, they must have been really proud back then. And, and we talked a little bit about what it was like to grow up in the house and how she feels about, potentially if she had to move away from it and, what it was like to live there. And, so we dived into a lot of that. But anyway, the end of the outcome was I got a text after the next day from the husband where he said, Jenny was really apprehensive about inviting an agent over. And we just wanted to say thank you for, not coming over and trying to encourage us to sell or going through anything more than understanding a little bit about how we felt about, a potential sale along the way, but getting to know, about how mum and dad bought it and, was it their first home? And
I believe you told me that.
Yeah.
she got photo albums out.
Yeah, no, that was another one
right.
where, you know, I went into and we talked, and I was connecting with a gentleman. We were talking about his daughter, and I saw a photo and they went of them skiing together. And I said, it looks like the emotions on the face of this photo looks like it was a really special time. And he just went on about
what a cracker.
Yeah, and then, we talked about his daughter and she's in university, and then they've been skiing together since they were 6, and he brought the photo album out, and like that would have never happened if you're sitting there with a pie graph, right?
Correct.
And win, lose or draw, like you walk away a hell of a lot more fulfilled as an agent, in my opinion. So I get excited going in now. I don't have any anxiety, win, lose. You just having better, but you do get better luck at the end.
As it turns out, you're getting yes after yes after yes after yes after yes, because would it be fair to say you're approaching this situation as one human being to another, expressing that care, talking about them rather than just the transaction?
Yeah, 100%. A lot of it just comes down to human connection.
Got it.
You know, forget the iPhones, the iPads, it's eyeballs, right?
Yeah.
Looking someone in the eye and going and looking and having a good, honest conversation, understanding what they really want, giving them options on how to get that, and then asking them, do they believe that I'm the right person to go out and find that buyer that immediately walks into their home and says, I love it, I want to buy it, for all the reasons that are important to that buyer.
That's fantastic. Look, we're getting close on time. I want to finally ask you, starting to acquire the skill, we had a conversation the other day and you were telling me about, you said, hey, Mark, come to realize everything is about how you think. Yeah. Everything. And I often talk about that the quality of your life is inextricably linked to the quality of your thoughts. And we are always drawn towards the most dominant thought in our life. So I want to talk, last question I want to ask you is, what is the most dominant thought in your mind about where you are going?
In my mind, I'm going, okay, I've got a goal in my mind, which has already happened. I will think about it in the morning and I'll play some music around it and I'll feel what it's going to feel. I'll try and get the feeling that I've already achieved it. But then I trust that it's going to happen, but I'm not in a rush. It'll happen when it happens. So for me, I have to understand right now, this is exactly where I'm meant to be. Everything is now happening for the best. If I lose a listing, it's a stepping stone to something better. Something, around the corner is happening that will get me closer to where I want. So I trust that it will happen. But the secret in my mind is being very comfortable with what I have right now, because I'm not in a state of lack. I am enough, I have enough, and I've done enough. But when the universe is ready or whenever it's time, I'm ready to receive more, which I've got an idea of what that is, but I'm just going to be trust and have patience that it will happen. So when I trust that it's going to happen, I wake up feeling I've already achieved it.
Yeah, so it's
happened.
You know it's going to happen.
It's happened. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. But I'm like, okay, like it's going to happen. So I don't have to worry about it anymore.
So it's almost...
I'm going downstream.
It's almost like I expect the best, but I accept whatever happens.
I accept whatever happens. And my mind is, I don't criticize anymore. I don't complain. Every situation, I look for the silver lining. Every situation is a stepping stone to something better. It is okay when things don't go your way. It is okay if I feel frustrated at any particular time. Like the ocean, right? I think
it goes in ebbs and flows.
Ebbs and flows, and being, okay when things may not be going, completely, because everything is happening for the best and everything will turn out how it's meant to be. And everything is a stepping stone. But I know from a level of trust that everything is happening for me and that what I want, I've already got. I just got to just be patient enough for it to happen.
It's almost like life is happening for you, not to you.
That's right. So, and I'm not in a rush. So my analogy is this. For 20 years, I was rowing upstream. I had a motor on and I was rowing, and now I've got rid of the oars. I've got rid of the motor, and I'm flowing, and I'm just going with the natural forces, and ultimately I'll end up where exactly I'm meant to be.
Well, Charles, one of the great things about my job as, a coach and a digital marketer is I get to meet some tremendous people. And I want to tell you, you are one of the most uniquest people I have ever met. I have no doubt that not only will be your number one, I can see this happiness inside of you that you've been able to tap into in our little journey together that inspires me to know that you will get to wherever you want to get to. And I want to say thank you for that experience of being able to gain proximity to someone like you.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for being here. I hope you've enjoyed the podcast. Give us a thumbs up or a like or whatever you're meant to do. Charles Toomer, thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.